Hi, my name is Denis Schwartz, and I'm going to do a video for a climate change energy. This is the picture normally appears in my works, not my picture, but the sun. That makes me joke, and yesterday I just did the big sun God. That I think is important for people who believe in God. I think is one of the most important. This is me in 94. Now I'm 64 years old in St. Peter's Day this year. And the picture is to show that my work has been in timber. My specialty for machinery, equipment, the ways I work the timber from the forest to the finished products by paint in timber. That is important for all the jobs that I go to show here, and one will be plastic. And in plastic is the experience of painting timber that I go to speak in another video. I have a cancer patient, and in the lockdown with COVID, I didn't get COVID, but I get cancer. And at the time, and when I do, it happens at least 2 times. I don't know if the first one I did a study for aquaponics and hydroponics. If you have a COVID for many years, to have vegetables and chickens, eggs, everything at home in a trend that don't have water or is not good for anything. But I did that job at the time. Maybe it was my first treatment with for cancer, because in the second and the third it happens exactly the same. The second time I begin develop a study when I saw these pictures from BID and Shell for a station. And I realized a station with everything from renewables or different things from that what are normally used. And it was this picture and the next one that makes me to do the job. At the time, I listened that the Chinese wanted to buy Pirelli tires. And of course, the name is important, Pirelli, is why in another YouTube I go to have one for tires that I call them ritual tires, for being in a different way. This is for the first part where I begin, because I forget everything from the past. And this thing came, and milk too. And it was this one, if it was not for a kitchen chef that looked for improving lives in a community, having goji leaves for people to eat that are with a lot of minerals and vitamins. It's a very rich vegetable. I will never do what I'm doing now and show and get the things that I've been doing at this moment. It's the reason this work is from this situation, from these leaves. Like I said before, I work in timber. And this video are going to be about energy, electricity. And it was from this machine that cuts steam in small pieces to make paper that I use where I work, and my experience of timber comes from one of machines like this one. It was not this one, but it was this machine, this part here. This part here, I think, is from the factory where I work, because we used to do this and it looks exactly like what we have in the factory. And this part here is bananas. It's a banana plant, it's not a tree, it's a banana plant. And it was the situation between this plant, banana, where I was looking if the leaves are, which content of protein banana leaves have for animal feed, with cutting. This too big is not possible, because to cut bananas, the banana tree is much easier. We don't need a machine like this one, because this one have an engine of 150 horsepower. Is something really big. Well, and we can do this with a very small machine, just cost peanuts compared to this machine. But it was the idea it was to do ships with banana tree. Obviously, they are stronger. We have lots of leaves. And after taking the bananas, all the tree are going to be a subproduct for fertilizer in the soil. Normally, I don't think they do anything much with this, but it's a font of animal protein that can be used. Okay, we are speaking energy, and all of the work of energy from the second to this one, I call the third part, came to produce electricity. And the first idea to make electricity, it was from an enterprise from the United States that were thinking to, not like this one, to send satellites to the space with steam, water steam. And water steam is a high concentrated volume of pressure that we are thinking to move all of these things to the space. If it works or not, we are going to be working, I don't know. But it was the idea of this that makes me work with electricity, thinking in electricity. The first idea was the ID shell. With this one, I begin to think to make water, electricity by water. That comes from the bottom of the sea, of the ocean, going up, and after going down. Without to have a dam, we can have produce electricity like a dam with different things to our machine. But you can produce energy by water coming down, up, down, not like the dam, up, down alone. And this system can be used for oh, I forget. I forget everything now with my age. This one is timber to burn, and with coal to make electricity. It's an old station. I don't think it's the same, but it's more or less. They are going to burn this to make electricity. That is a scandal to do these things, because these things must be go to the fields. And this is nuclear fusion. I go to show a few things: water, air, fusion, things to do electricity. This is the grain of the gods to produce the energy in the future. That now will not be working, because there are a simple way to produce electricity easily than this system and cheaper. The second part that I want to speak about agriculture, you have the pandas. I just show this because I have something with energy with this, but to show this part green of the bamboo will be one of the fonts for animal feed. And with bamboo, you can do, this is a windy to make electricity, and this is in timber. This timber is soft. If it's made with bamboo, will be good for the sea and land. This is one way how we can use bamboo, compressed bamboo, that I'll go to show later on, to make all of these situations, not with iron, but bamboo. And everything is energy. There are things we do use more or less energy. It's just to notice everything we move by one arm, for example, is spending energy. If we move one finger, I'm spending energy. Here is a machine that I forget the name. And is one of the ways that you are doing energy now. It's very expensive. I don't think will be in the future much for this production of electricity, because it's very expensive. But here I would like to show electric generator is here. It's a small thing. You are going to see another ones. We are going to see a gearbox here that makes possible to do the electricity with the blades, because without the gearbox we will not have the electricity. This is main shaft bearing, and in the future these systems are going to be good, but needs to be stopped when we don't need them, because they have a lot of bearings. There was one, this one, your drive is with bearings too. But a small engine like this one has 2 bearings. You have a lot of bearings in this thing. This is one, a big one. And you have more here. You have a lot of bearings here. That means they get damaged with the years. This thing will be working time by time, but not in a situation that is working all the time. I explain later why. Because we have this. And this is another way to make electricity. I think this photo is from the Three Gorges Dam in China. It's one of the 30 that they have there in this size. They have 30 plus 2 small ones. And this is the big one. And what we have here makes electricity like an atomic central. But I was speaking about 30 because, for example, in the summer, maybe they have 5 working, and it means they have 25 of them stopped. But with the new way to produce electricity by electricity, it's possible to have these 25 ones working without spending water. And you can use this one and other 2 systems like gas or coal. But mainly gas, you can have a different way to produce electricity. In a new way, or like this one, you can go to the old systems and use them to produce electricity by electricity. Electricity by electricity means that we have a small engine that can take 5% of the production of, from 100, we take 5%, we still have 90% of electricity to sell or to send to the line. I say, the cost of producing electricity in something that is blocked without water, that are going to say one of the problems that is the lack of water in summer times in some places, that you cannot use them in all the world. You are going to begin to use them with dry weather or wet weather. You can use them because they are not connected after the first movement are going to be collected to a small engine, electric engine, or air engine. But when the water makes this thing moving, in this situation, they work very slow. It's 67 rotations per minute. It's very small. We need water to make this thing moving. After it's producing in the maximum way of water, we stop the water and we connect the small engine for moving this. And you are going to have the same production without using water. But then this one is what we find in atomic energy. Gas energy is more common. They work normally 3,000 RPM rotations or 100 for 100 rotations, 1,400. Obviously, they are big. And you are going to do, if it's, for example, from an atomic central that is stopped, like we have three closes in Germany from atomic centrals, you can use a system that is there to produce electricity without atomic material with a small engine to do this. I'll show you next how we do that. It's something that we need to have in these situations. If you are producing without to recover anything old, you are making a new one, you are going to have this one of these things. One of these things, that is the part of the group, we need one of these things to move the electricity out of the system. Or say you can have in one roundabout in the middle of a capital of a country to produce electricity with one of these machines with the capacity of an atomic central uranium production. With these things, that thing, that generator and a small electric motor, they can produce electricity for the town. This system have an advantage from anything else is we don't need to go far away to pick up the electricity to take it to a big town, big city, because you can produce electricity just in the entrance of the city. What we need in the future is not ways to produce electricity, is ways to keep the electricity at night during the day for the times when we need them more. And this is a battery that is the cheapest way how to keep electricity. For example, at this moment, China is working in 8 things like this one in different parts of the country. When they stop the first one, they begin the second. When they stop the second, they begin the third. When they stop the third, they begin the fourth. Is the way of China works. At this moment is 8. With no supplement of energy, they need more than 8. They need 16 at least, moving 1, 2, 3, 4 times. When we finish one, we go to another one. Because it's the cheapest way to produce, to keep electricity. And because the system that I discovered anyway, because it didn't exist, no one are using it before, is that we produce the same electricity 24 hours. Like atomic centrals, they don't stop so easily. The system working electricity by electricity is exactly the same. Because when we stop that system, we need a different machine to begin to produce, to begin the cycle again. And we need that batteries. You can have these ones. Everyone knows these ones. And this is, how I say, all of this situation is have a story. This is the way how I prove that water can go from down, up, coming down again. But then using the gearbox and the system electric from the other system electric before, you can make it a new style of making electricity by water, coming down, up and down. It's just to remember that I remember from COVID, and then when we are speaking about water, and in COVID times they just open these things with the high pressure to tell people need to wash the hands. You need to have more publicity for people saving water, because people don't think water is important, but water is very important. This is another way how I prove that the system of water coming down up works. Because in the first one that I have in the sink, it was the way that we work in the forest to take petrol to the soil from a recipient to take to the soil. You use this, we blow, and we took all the air from here, and the petrol begins to go to the soil getting machine. Sometimes the people drink some petrol. This one, because the first one, like I said, my experience is in Tima, the first idea, it was from the forest. But there are one way that everybody knows, mainly the police, and some people, is how people stole diesel. You see, if you have here 200 liters of diesel, it's very easy to take it. With that tube, we put inside, you open this, you put inside, and we take all 20 liters. Fast, quickly. But in this situation, I took the water that was here, old water, I put water inside, I took water, old water from here too. You didn't let any water inside. And it shows and proves that there are a system, I don't know the name, who can move the water, will be a name for that, going up, moving like that, coming down, and you can do electricity here. The only thing, all this system cannot have air inside the tube. If a tube of 1 centimeter, 10 meters will be the same, because there are still tubes with 1 centimeter, 10 meters are the same. But the level never can be built up this part. If the tube comes here and then goes down to the level of the diesel is down every time, because when at the end, the level of the tube must be down this part here. Without that, it stops the movement. Anyway, engineers can work more. I don't think it's important now, this system, because it's too expensive. You can do it cheaper. You could do it in the sea and on land. Very good for zones with mountains to do electricity. But too expensive now. No, it's not important anymore. But it's a new way how to produce electricity. This is the second one. The generator is a more full. It means we are going to have a connection from here in one of these places to connect to a gearbox and after to a small engine, because this situation moves so slow. This thing can have 300 tons, just this part here. With 67 rotations, it's too small. It's why we need a gearbox. Can be this one. If it's from here or here, I don't know. Just we need to increase the speed to get an engine working with high speed. Because all the group are going to keep the 67 RPM that we need easily. If it's direct, is a very heavy thing to work directly, like the other systems. This is a gearbox from a bus or a truck. That is the same. The same is to go smooth, the movement. As you see, these things from water are big. You see the track here? These things have 200 tons, I think, too. they are very heavy. And to solve the problem for making electricity by water up, I found some ways to press the water to go faster in the system or to produce a way. I thought about this situation. I don't think we don't need it, but easier to explain one situation. This thing is made for gas. We have oxygen, or we call the air, and we have gas like oxygen, nitrogen, ozone, many gas, like the cooking gas, that we need to compress. And we have already all the technology for gas and air. Just the second system to produce electricity is by air, compressed air in a closed circuit. That means that we need to have two pressures of air, one high, one small. You need to compress, for example, if you are working between 7 and 50, that is the normal way to make nowadays air, compressed air for the factories, we need in this circuit to compress again the 7 to 50. And to do that, you need the compressors. But we have everything, all the technologies. You don't need to discover anything new. All of the things I'm speaking, we have already all the things we've been producing, just in a different way. I'll say, if you need air technology for air, we have already them in the gas industry and the air industry to do that. But then this is what these pumps are for water or for crude. When they took crude from the floor, they use the same system. When we take water from the floor for drinking, we use the same system too. This system is good because don't let the liquids coming back. And it makes a compression. I thought at the time this situation, that is exactly like the gas, to compress air is one of the situations that I thought at the time. But all of these situations are important, but still important because you can produce electricity and moving things by air in two different bars. This thing appears here. It has to show a converse generator and a motor. This is one motor, electric motor. Okay, I've been speaking about producing electricity with a small engine. But to produce energy in that big things, not in the dams, because in the dams are different, but from a gas station or atomic station, if they are stopped, you can produce electricity with a small engine. But first we need an engine to move the body. Because we need one thing big like this one, that we begin with 3,000 for 3,000 rotations, or 1/400, to give the speed and the capacity of one of that big things to produce electricity. And after, we take this one out and we put a small engine. Because the small engine only, here we need 100, or more than 100 sometimes, because that machine from timber went very up. We need all pressure, we need all of this machine to begin to work. And after taking it, you just need a small engine, because we just are going to keep the movement, not to wait. It's just to keep the rotations of the movement that we call, in Portuguese, we call vazio. I didn't write the names, maybe I have something here, because I'm so forgetful. Inertia. I need to see one of my papers by side. Because you are just, after this thing, when we go to the small engine, when we go to the engine, we just need to keep the inertia, the movement And for that, we don't spend practically any energy. Or say, that without having this thing 100% working to get the maximum, you can have just 5% of this to make the electricity. Is why this system to make electricity by a small electric engine is the crown how to produce electricity enough for everything with after the investment of a generator, a small engine, the one to use the I call the one. It's not a transformer. Transformer, small engine, generator. After to pay these things, they begin to make electricity for free. It's not difficult to pay this because the system that we are going to produce electricity can cost maybe in the future 5% that is costing now. We say we take 95% of the cost to make electricity in the future. And we can increase the volume of electricity in a very high way. It's not like this. This one, it was just to give the idea, because these things are not going to be moving like this year. It's just to say we have a motor and a generator. Here is what we have more, we call a generator. The way of making electricity is here. The way of a motor is this. Also, it's very different. It's a different way. To move the motor, we need to go with lots of, how much weight, we need more electricity going inside to move. In the generator, it's not the weight, it's the velocity. We are going to produce electricity. That is absolutely different. And for changing the connections, we have more or less this thing, can be different, but the idea is to have between this and the generator from the dam, the generator from the gas turbine, the coal station, the new system, alone without to be an old one, just a generator, small motor. This is the situation we are going to work. To move from one situation to another, from a big engine to begin with a small engine, you need a system who can leave the belts not working, connect, and in an easy way to take. So you are going to begin with a big diesel engine. You need to connect to the generator, that in this case will be here. And after, when is the speed, connect the small engine and take the big generator out. Because another thing is the system, it produces 100% energy. You are going to take 5% for work, for the system working, and 95% to go out. This one comes, how I told, is 3 different systems to produce electricity. Water down, up, by air, by electricity. And this one is to be for by air. This is, lots of people know this. We have in the old cars, at least in my age, we know this. We have one of these things in the car that normally is like this one. It's just to explain. This part here that connects to the diesel or petrol engine with a belt, with air, are going to inside for a fan that are going to move this part here with air to produce electricity for batteries, for a car working with batteries or a car working only by air, because it's possible and the technology is here. We don't need to go to make anything new, just use what we have now. This is the duck curve, how you see it changed from 2012 to 2000 with the renewables. Every time you do more electricity during the day that you are not using. and you need to keep part of this. For example, in China, because BID Shell, I begin this situation with BID Shell, because I thought we have this situation in China. But in China, we don't have this situation, we have this one. In the Western countries, we maybe are much near this part here or here, but not in China because they use all the electricity to work. It means that we need a lot of batteries, a system to keep the electricity that we don't need during the day and at night. You need to keep big quantities, because the problem now is not much how to produce electricity, but it's how we keep the electricity that you are not using for the times that you need at night and in the morning. And I think at lunchtime, because this thing maybe something must be wrong, because my experience in the factories is that when we stop at lunchtime, the big machines, and we begin them, the electricity goes up. But this thing must forget that the lunchtime is a type curve, but just for dinner, not for lunch. Or you see, when you see this, I think it's just dinner, not lunch. When I begin the electricity by hair, it was here. Today, in the past, it was 7 bars, but now we have compressors that make 50 bars. Just to explain, if you have 50 bars, imagine you have a bottle that have 7 bars of air inside. But to have 50, you can have just one bottle too. But you can have one bottle with 50 that is the same to have 7 with 7 bars. I'll say one bottle of 50 is equal to 7 bottles in low bars. That means we could not now to produce electricity during the night, using during the electricity now. You can produce air to the industries at night and use them during the day, using a 50 bar recipient, not a 7 bar. This is another way to keep air to make energy bags. It's a nice system that you can use in the sea, in water. I don't think it's so practical, but in some situations will be, I think, I don't think you need to produce air now to produce electricity in this situation. This is what we have until now. I go to take a cigarette. Until now, we use compressed air in one way. We produce air with 7 bars, and you are, for example, if it's an engine, air engine, or anything with a pump, you have many things in the industry. You just put it inside. It makes filtration of the air, because lots of air sometimes have oil. That means in lots of factories people are breathing oil mixed with air in the atmospheric. Because all these systems, we produce air and we throw it away. Because it's cheaper to have, for 7 bars, to have tubes for doing this job. Okay? No one is minding to recover the air again. It's just throw away. The factory where I work, one of the compressors for air, it was 75 horsepower plus 50 horsepower. And sometimes the 50 was not enough. You had to connect the 75 plus 60 horsepower to make air during the day. Obviously, spending full time the maximum of electricity is very expensive to produce air. But because we don't need to pay air, atmospheric air, until now no one thought to get the air back and to use the same air again. And is one of the first things our energies is to breathe by air. is one of the main energies that we discover. Where before iron and fire, we blew the flames to have fire. It was the first energy that we use is to blow to a fireplace to get fire, to get warm. The first energy that humans use. Not the fire, but to blow. This is a hair, but we have different ways for moving hair. I think this one, for example, when we are going to produce electricity for a car, in that system that we have, the old style, and we are going to produce electricity, I think this system, it makes more pressure. Because we have different, I'll show later on, different bars for using it. I think this situation is a better moving way to move air. This is Titanic. And like the steam to send satellites to the space, the deep on the sea, to go there, where is Titanic, we need to have one of these things with that goes, can get, look, in a factory 7 bars. Now we have 50, but our majority of the things we there work with 7. Here we have 370, 380 bars. You see the pressure that is outside this thing is a lot. But is this different between, for example, if I want to work, I'll show, because I think they are, where we can keep, because this thing is to keep the pressure from outside. But now to make electricity or move something, we need the air inside, to keep the air inside, the big pressures inside, not outside. And for this you need materials that have this situation. This is one to show that we have already things to go, to get a lot of pressure, to keep a lot of pressure inside, in the air. It's connected with air too. This is backlit. It's another product. In one of, I want to have a YouTube only for plastic, that normally I call plastic gold. And this is one of the first products before plastic that we use. Lots of people know this, though how hard is this product. But this product is the product that we begin to do this thing. This thing is not plastic, it's backlit. It's a very hard material. People normally think this is plastic, but this is a different material. And you see a bottle, a metallic bottle. I think not a metallic bottle, but a backlit bottle. That can have another space, but where we can have, for example, let's see that you are producing electricity for a house, for a restaurant. And we have something like this bottle with air inside, for example, not 7, it was 7, but it's the minimum, the minimum that we have now, more common. But we have 7 and we have 4. You have 2 different pressures of air, not gas, normal air inside. That the thing with compressed air or gas is explosions. If it's gas, it can make fire. With air, can damage people because fragments of these things can go to beat one person, and it works like a bullet. But with a very low pressure, for example 4, 7, or 3, 5, you still can keep a speed moving to recharge the electric part that I show you from the car, that will be here. The contact with the belts is inside, but is moving by air, not by the engine. And with the battery that I think is here, you can produce electricity, keep it in 11 or 24 volts, and you can give electricity for people in Africa. In many places they don't have electricity, and to have a way for cooking, small refrigerators in between 12 and 24 volts have a proper life like we need to have. Because we can be poor, but we need a few things for a human living with some rights. That means that bottle or no bottle can be square are going to produce a movement that are going to charge a battery. But if you are using, for example, this one, let's go for an easy way, 5-7. I go to throw 7 bars in the fan to move that thing to make electricity, but I need to have a space that goes from 7 to 5 to have a space that can keep 5 bars, and the compressor that go to pressure the 5 bars to 7 again. And when we go to take the energy to do that situation, because the first gas to 7 works like water for moving. To make the pressure, we need another energy, but it's the same, it's the air. Just you are going to press the 5 with 7 bars to press again to 7. We'll say you have 7, 5, and press to 7 again. The energy is made in the system, inside the bottle. It's a closed circuit. I'll say you are not sending air out, not inside, it works inside. And this way are going to move big ships, aeroplanes, lots of things. For example, this is are going to appear this thing here. That when I didn't know if you have already these things 1 year ago, because the system by air and water for me have 1 year old time. When first I discovered them, it was 1 year ago, that I thought it was very important, but I don't think people pay much attention to nothing nowadays. And you have a very special system, how it works nowadays. But just to see how we get for the problems from the ship. Air, mechanic power, electricity, use the electricity, we charge batteries to keep it, you take from the line, we compress them. I think we need to compress them more than 50 for doing these movements. And we put in a reservoir, a storage tank, that can be from 7 to 100 bars, like I showed before. We have technology for this. We have electric heaters, air motors. We have this style of air motors. This is why, I don't know, is this system or the other one that I show with water? I think the other one will be better. But I just have the idea to produce electricity by water or making movement by water. And we have the propellers. That makes something very fun. This thing is working. We have already one of these things moving in the sea. And you see, you are taking electricity to make air compression. After we send to the air tank here, this is for air motor, but the air don't come back. It's just one way. You use it for a way. The idea comes from making energy or moving by air, comes from one person 20 years ago, I think, in France, was doing by air and water to move engine with engine motor, a diesel engine motor. I say, to use air, you have a different technology for air and gas. You don't need the engines like diesel engines or any different. We have already technology for doing that. But the situation that I'm speaking is to put inside here once, never more, after the first time, can be 1, 2 years, the time that will be there without losing air. That can be 200 bars, or 100 bars, 150, 200 bars, 270 like in Titanic. You keep here. The air tank can be outside, not inside, can be outside, and can go to move the air motor. The air that comes from the high pressure must be compressed again to do the air with energy from the high pressure moving the compression. I call this compression because, for example, when I spoke 7.5, you need a compression line, because if you don't have a compression line, you don't produce any movement. Will be all the same. You don't move. We need a compression camera and compress again for their making a movement. Without that, we are not moving anything. But just to say, with a closed circuit, you can use actually chips that are working and working them with the diesel or crude. They work in very different ways. And after the first movement, like in electricity by electricity, you can change for air for big container ships. So you can have the second way of moving the product without spending any diesel or gas. It's just when is the movement, the right movement we want, we stop the burning and we begin with the air. Or we can begin with the air with a new system altogether without any diesel tanks or engine to work. Or say, we can have all air. We can adapt air to the normal working ships, or we can work with to do ships where the damage the engines and are to put. I think they sink all of them in the sea. But if you can stop sinking them and stopping the burning engine and use all air, you can keep, because for fires, I think you can get iron or steel with water. But if you are not going to do this, you can just left everything there like it is, have the air tank on the top of the whole ship, and changing for air motor. Just keep old one for show. Is a way that we can move things only by air. We don't need to transform air in electricity. Maybe in this situation, you need to transform air in energy, in electricity, because they can work only by air or by electricity too. Because you can do electricity by air, you can do electricity by electricity, that you can have a very low weight motor and transformer working to make electricity. But I think the future is only air. It's the car. It's electric car with batteries that we charge. The big difference with these two different ways to produce energy, let me speak, we are going to keep electric car like it is now. But you are not going to charge to electric station. You are going to be charged with the same system that going to charge when we stop having diesel and petrol engines and working with air to recharge the batteries, the small quantity. That is we call now we make electricity in the car to move. But you still need to go to recharge again because the battery is not. You need a system to produce electricity for a small amount of batteries to have an engine moving. Because if it's only by air, we don't need electricity, because everything can be moved by air. There will be a time that people find very strange to have a car moving by air, not by electricity. But times are going to change, because with electricity and air stopping diesel and petrol are going to be very soon, because it's very easy to produce electricity by air. The bottle to produce electricity in the system that I showed before are going to charge electric cars with a very small amount of batteries, or because we don't need so much batteries in the future, we need less, and we need to go to an electric station to recharge, because the car will be recharging. We didn't need stations to recharge. It's the big difference by air, moving by air only, or moving by air and electricity, is that we don't need petrol stations. We don't need electric stations. We don't need them. We don't want to need anywhere. You can produce energy in the comfort of the house too, if we want. Like we can produce electricity for Africa, for people who don't have electricity in places that is not enough solar. They can have a very cheap way to produce electricity for their home too, by the car. When we speak, is missing. At the time 1 year ago, I looked for who can produce engines. They produce engines because air engines are used for places that explosions by gas are dangerous, and we don't use electricity, just gas. I look at the time and appears it is one of the producers in China for air motors only, because you have the torque for working. Already you have air engines, but they are very small. All the industry must be developed, and I'm not so certain in part of the industry that this system is better than the first one that I use by water, because I think the system moves like water, is much stronger and cheaper than doing these things. But both will be needed, this one and the other one. Because it's like aeroplane. You have pressures in the bar. Or say, if you are going to use aeroplane with air compressed 200 bars, it's a lot of pressure moving. See? I think 200 bars can move faster than this one. That's why all the nitrogen, everything are very fun. But we don't need hydrogen. We don't need hydrogen. We need the air that we breathe. Atmospheric air is enough. We have the recipient to keep the air inside safe. We have lots of things for security. If one is failing, it begins another one. The future of aeroplanes is by air. Atmospheric air, the air that we breathe, are going to be outside and inside the aeroplane. Solar, still very important for crops and many things. And it's cheaper. We don't use copper in these things, or so much copper, like we use in other systems. And don't forget, by the climate, I have a funny night, because today I wake up at 4:30. And I could not sleep because I fought with the felling of crops. And I get weak. And I believe in 10 years, you must have fillings of crops for animal feed and for human feed. Can be very complicated in 10 years' time. Because what is now happening, you have a lot of rain and you have dry. Too dry, too much rain. And this situation can stop a continent producing food. And you are going to do a different program that I think is just important as this part of electricity in value for humanity, like the energy, is to have security in food. Food for humans, food for animals, food for fish. One will be only for fish, one will be only for bread, one will be for animals and humans. I'm going to speak in this in the future. And this situation here, it was what I thought, because I begin the first part that I go to speak about agriculture in another video. It begins with a production for milk, milk is still expensive. I got specialized in China. And I read in the news, I watched on the Chinese TV, GTN, CGTN, that the prices of milk is one of the foods that is still expensive in Chinese milk. And it was that situation, and another that situation that I showed the leaves first, the goji leaves, and the work of that kitchen chef that makes the community working, that I begin the second job of agriculture. And with that job, it was possible for me to find a connection between to produce electricity by electricity. Because if I didn't do that job of agriculture, I could not speak about electricity by electricity, but no one are doing this now, and no one are going to do in the future, with a very so simple primate idea to produce electricity. That any electrician who knows how to connect an industrial engine from 10 horsepower, 7.5 horsepower, we need to use a little more things to connect that engine from 10, 15, knows that it's possible to produce electricity. You don't need a big study. It's just something like to learn A, B, C. A normal person who changes an engine, a 40 horsepower engine, know that it's possible to produce electricity in this way, using 5%, not 100 of the engine to make electricity, which is when it gets in inertia. And this one, it was the way, because maybe it's in the next one, let me see. No, it's not it. I don't think I have in this part here. But this situation is to protect crops from sun, but because this thing was thinking to make this part in the desert. And it's still very important for deserts because it protects the sun, but also protects the freezing, the cold. Because when we have ice, it protects the things that are down. It protects hot and ice from the crops. And I think these things are still very important to protect the lands of many places. Like you see here, we have sheep here. That is protected. Is not good land. It's just for these things. The place don't have. What in agriculture we can keep is to have sheep that now have grass because the land, the floor is protected by these things. And still a very cheap way to produce electricity. This one, and electricity by electricity, will be the future of producing electricity in the future. It's an engine, well, see, it's very old. Once I used a 60 horsepower, like this one, is why I kept this picture. They are still very good, they are old. Like we have very old generators that you can be using. They have different shapes, but they work exactly like the new ones. Better, the air goes inside to cool the engines. Now all of them are closed, but the system open to cool engine, in some situations, is the best way. Now it's just to finish all the things to explain, but how is the Chinese power hungry data centers for generators, you see? You still are doing this. We just need one of this one and you can move from different towns. Because doing electricity by electricity, you can do in each town. We don't need to transport electricity from one town to another. You can produce electricity town by town. You can use the structures that we have today, but in the future, you can produce electricity for each town, for the number of people who are living there. You are going to have a minimum quantity that are going to be done by electricity with a small engine. And when we need to move more or less, you are going to use the wind turbines, the batteries for the excess electricity needed Well, you need to use another way. Or we are going to use an old system from gas turbine that is old from the 70s, 80s, with now is 40, 50, 60 years old, all broken, polluting all the environment by gas. That is another situation we are going to speak what we are doing, killing our planet by gas. And using them when we reduce, if we need to move the electricity up and down. You can use whole systems for that thing. And when we need already a lot of electricity, we change for a small electricity by electricity. But when it's very small quantities and change quantities very easily, we need still those systems working. And they can be useful for more 50 years using them. We see a big machine, power hungry high data. Do you see? We just need one of these machines moving town by town, put everything working, new ones. This is, I forget to send something, and after this says, but I think I got to speak. Tyres with backlit, palm oil, tree, Africa, North, South Ecuador. To increase soil quality of air. 2. Bread, different cereals, fruit trees and fertilizers, fish, grass carp, salt fish and sweet fish. I say for salt water and sweet water, but with fish, carp mainly, for sweet water, and fish from salt. Meat and milk, where I begin water. Salty water, deserts. How we can change deserts in the North Africa and where is Saudi Arabia, Iraq, these countries. Pets food is another thing. We speak about food of people. Today we have so many pets, they eat a lot of meat. You need a lot of food for pets. It's not only for people. Bamboo is the king. Spirulina is the queen of my next job. Spirulina, the queen, bamboo, the king of animal food. All the plants, vegetables, banana tree, sugar cane, corn, electricity by water, air, and cars. It was a small appointment that I had here. I just show because it was in the same line, is how to press bamboo. I have these pictures from YouTube. If you see the person, you can just write this thing in YouTube. You go there, you are going to learn how to make bamboo very strong, and you can do. And this is the God, the Sun God. We need to believe in something. If you want to believe in a God, the best one is the Sun God. Thank you for listening. I hope that everything is in the video now. Thank you. Bye-bye.